Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Caregiver Check-In. I'm Darren Fink. I am one of the co-founders of Transfiguring Adoption, and I'm going to stall, honestly. We have a special guest coming in here with us. Hopefully, we're going to try to if you're watching it after the fact, we are watching, hey Blake. If you're watching it after the fact, we do this on Facebook Live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And sometimes Facebook has some stipulations as far as like you have to use a smartphone we've never tried it with an iPad before. So our special guest, Betsy Crockett, is trying to get on here, and she, I believe, is going to try to use her iPad to see if she can watch in here with us. I'm not seeing her yet, so we will just let everyone get in there. Hey, Christina, how are you doing? Hope everyone's had a good week. I would love to hear, while we're waiting for Betsy to join us here for our conversation tonight, I would love to hear what everyone's favorite Easter candy is. Would love to. Mine, I'm not a big candy person. Margie makes, my wife, if you don't know who that is, makes this thing called Miracle Pie. And it's phenomenal. It's got cream cheese, sour cream, a bunch of other Jello in it, and it is amazing. But I had too much of that yesterday. Wow. That was yesterday. So we had that. But yeah, I want to know what everyone's favorite Easter candy is while we're waiting for everything to populate here. And I am, as usual, if you guys have joined in with us, I am trying to get our special guest in on here so that we can talk with Miss Betsy. I'm going to have Betsy introduce herself a little bit more. So that I'm not doing it for her. But Betsy is an adult adoptee, and she loves speaking with people about her experience and helping people to learn more about how to help with adoptions. Let's see here. Christina says Starburst jelly beans. I love that. I like Jelly Belly jelly beans better. But I'll take Starburst. I'll take Starburst jelly beans. Those are okay. Those are okay. Let's see here. I am not seeing Betsy on here yet. Okay. Starburst jelly beans are fantastic. You know, they have all these jelly beans now where they're the sour flavors, and our kids love the sour flavors. I think it must be like a kid thing, because I remember loving the candy Sour Patch Kids when I was like in high school, middle school, probably. And I don't know. I don't think I want sour stuff anymore. So it's interesting. Interesting. All right, hold on one second, everyone. All right, we'll see if we can get her in here. All right, but I'm going to give my short spiel here about our caregiver check-in while we're waiting to get in here. Otherwise, just talk among theirs. Betsy, I don't see you I see you on there. I'm not seeing you on my mobile device yet, just so you know. There we go. Let's see, we're going to add Betsy in here. It's trying to add you, Betsy, so you should be in here in a little bit. And while we are adding Betsy in there, I'm going to go ahead and just give my short spiel. I'm Darren Fink. I'm with Transfiguring Adoption, one of the co-founders. We have this every Monday. Monday Caregiver Check-In is a 45-minute to an hour time where we spend on Facebook Live to let you ask questions, to have you share your advice. It's just a place for foster parents, adoptive parents, professionals, whoever, to come in here, get advice, learn more, and just for us to collaborate, encourage each other so that we can help raise kids and help them to be successful for another week. This is not legal advice. This is not medical advice. We're not telling you to do anything against what your agency or your caseworkers are working and trying to do with you. We want you to work with the professionals that are already in your life and to listen to them. All that to say, again, please don't sue us. There's no money. We're just trying to help each other. So let me see here. We're trying to add Betsy Crockett in here. She is an adult adoptee, and she was excited to talk with everyone about her experiences and just to kind of help through there. Betsy, it says it's trying to add you. If you're on your iPad, I'm not sure the iPad's going to work. Not sure that's going to work. We'll try it one more time. I'm hitting the add button. I just hit the add button, so Betsy, it should be asking you if you want to be added into the conversation. Oh, okay. It should be asking you if you want to be added to the conversation now. Let me see if I can try it one more time, you guys. And if you're just joining us, we just had Easter, and I would love to hear what everyone... Christina said that she enjoys Starburst jelly beans. What does everyone else enjoy for Easter? What kind of candy do you enjoy? All right, Betsy, it's asking you if you want to join. Are you getting that? One thing that we wanted to talk about tonight, you guys, was there's a lot of people... Uh-oh, it's not. Betsy, do me a favor. Completely close out your Facebook on your iPhone. Completely close it out and come back into the video. You might have to completely just shut things down and come back in, and we might have to re-add you. Okay. So one thing that we wanted to talk about tonight is one thing with our foster and adoptive kiddos that we have is a lot of foster and adoptive kiddos... even if they're in a good situation in our homes, they are in a situation where they want to know more about their birth family. They want to know more about where they came from. And that can be a hard thing for foster and adoptive parents. Let's just be honest, you guys. That can be a hard thing for us because our pride gets in the way, or our own fears and insecurities get in the way. And as adoptive parents, we hear a lot of stories about people wanting to know why their child wants to find their birth family when they feel like they're giving them such a good home. And so Betsy actually has gone through the process of searching for her birth family as an adoptee. And she, let's see here, is hopefully coming back on here. But she likes to talk to people about just some of her thoughts and feelings. And as always, a lot of things that Margie and I, and a lot of the folks that help us work with Transfiguring Adoption will tell people is you've got to listen to the birth families, or not birth families, I'm sorry. You got to, that too, they're great to listen to and get to know too. But you need to listen to adult adoptees and hear their experiences and hear what they've gone through. So that you can better understand what your child is going through, their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And it's just like the old thing where we talk about if we don't learn from the past or we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. And that's just something we don't want to do with our children. We want what's best for our kids. So if I could just get some emojis going. Again, this would be a great time too while we're waiting for our guest Betsy to come in here. If you guys could go ahead and shoot me some emojis. If you can hit the like button if you are doing foster care right now, or if you could hit the like or the love button if you are in an adoptive home. I would love to see what everyone's doing, and this would be a great time too if you guys want to shoot out a share that you are watching the Caregiver Check-In. This will help us to get more people involved and more conversation going while we're trying to get Betsy on. So, let's see here. Sorry about this, you guys. We should have prep this ahead of time. We just never know with these things if people are going to be able to get on or not. All right. Christina says, we try to answer questions as they ask them about their birth families. We don't overshare for their age, but as they have questions, just answer as truthful as possible. And I think that's important because I think our kids, I mean, what do you guys think? I think our kids, they are able to smell a lie from a world away. And so I feel like, honesty is the best policy. And if we are trying to save them from their feelings or whatnot, our kids know what's going on. They just know. And it's best to be upfront and truthful with them as possible because they know what's happening and what's going on. I think... Let's see. It should be adding you now, Betsy. All right, let me see here if I can figure out. Betsy, I'm going to try to call you, and we're just going to do a call in here, okay? Maybe we can figure this out eventually.
Hello?
Hey, Betsy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. We had to do this last week, too. We had... Here, let me take this out here. We had Leanne Goldstein on. She does not know how to use Facebook, so she just joined us by phone. So,
Okay.
let me know, you guys. Can you hear Betsy? Can you hear Betsy on the video? That'll let me know if this is gonna work or not.
Oh boy.
There's a lag here sometimes, so we'll see what happens. All right.
Okay.
So, let's see here. Betsy, we're going to go ahead. This Betsy Crockett, like I've been saying, is an adult adoptee. Betsy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Darren. Well, I was adopted as a baby. Boy, I haven't done much. No, I am a mother of two. I have a lot of pets, and I recently found my birth father and his family, and they have really just embraced me and made me a part of their family, and I'm just really excited about that part of my journey. But, you know, as you know, my journey hasn't always been easy.
Right. So I know about that, and I don't know how much you want to share with everyone else about your journey or anything. And again, everyone, if you guys could give me like a thumbs up emoji or the heart emoji if you guys are hearing Betsy okay. She couldn't get joined in through Facebook's live thing, so we're just she's with us on telephone. So let me know, you guys, if you're able to hear her okay or not. That would help me out a lot.
And I put makeup on and everything.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, everyone tells me that I have a face for radio. So, Betsy, can you tell us about, how, you might have already just said it, and I'm still setting up some stuff. So I'm seeing hearts that people can hear you. So that's great. Can you tell us a little bit more about, so you were adopted as an infant?
Yes. Well, I was relinquished after I was born, and I went and I lived with a foster family for a little while until they had things kind of set up with the family that ended up adopting me eventually. And It was a closed adoption, so I didn't have any information. I had very little information through the adoption agency, and I kind of always, there's just always this need to find the people you're related to. I have always known I was adopted, and I really started searching as soon as I possibly could when I got older.
What about, what age was that you started searching? Do you know?
At 21, but I really didn't have any idea what I was doing. And then with the miracle of social media, I got involved with some people who are called search angels, and these are people who a lot of them are affected by adoption, and they know their way around all of the systems and can give you suggestions and so on and so forth. I found those through like some adoptee support groups, and they suggested that I could get a copy of my original birth certificate from the state of Illinois, which was a brand new law that was passed. So that's what I did. And on my birth certificate, I had my birth mother's name and everything, and I was able to track her down through a family obituary, and she in turn basically did not want anything to do with me. I spoke with one of her sisters, and her sister basically said, she's not going to change her mind. She really just doesn't want any contact with you. So that pretty much broke my heart, because I had been waiting my whole life, for this heartfelt reunion. We were going to run into each other's arms and hug each other and live happily ever after, but it didn't happen in that sort of way. So that was very difficult.
Well, let me back up here. So again, let me ask everyone on here. So is everyone that's watching, again, share, if everyone could take some time to share this to their profile pages so that we can get more discussion in. We're listening and talking with adult adoptee Betsy Crockett about her adoptee life, I guess, and just learning from her so that we can better understand our own children and what they're going through. If you guys have any questions or anything at all, please comment, and Betsy will be sure to answer those, or I'll try to field them as I can. Do you remember, like, when you were thinking about your birth family and stuff, what drove that? Because I know I've heard a lot of people say, well, I've given my adoptive child this great home. Why would they want to find their adoptive family? Like, what drove that? Like, help us understand that.
It's not that, like, I looked at my adoptive parents as anything less than being my parents. But there's a biological pull. And there's also curiosity, and there's also, I did not have very much information. I had no idea the background. I had no idea how I kind of came to be. And I also didn't have a lot of health information. And it turns out, that would have been very, very helpful, because it turns out that being born with a hole in your heart is something that happens in my biological mother's side.
Huh.
And if I would have known that, I would have been able to tell the doctors to look out for it, because my daughter was born with a hole in her heart.
Wow.
That's a huge, just a huge, you need to know, diabetes, cancer, things like that. That's very important.
Absolutely.
So there's several factors, and there's just always the curiosity factor. Like, why did you give me up? I always felt like I needed to walk on eggshells, because I thought, well, I was a mistake, and I thought, it was, I was just an unwanted person. And so I always felt like, I had to make people like me and make people happy all the time, or else they would, give me away like my biological parents did. And so it was good. It was closure. That's the word I was looking for. It was closure.
Okay.
Yes. And, if you have, and some people, they have terrible outcomes of their search. I had this bad outcome with my bio mother, but a lot of people find, that their parents have passed away or are involved in life situations where they can go, okay, yeah, I see why you gave me up.
Right.
And I'm sorry your life took a turn, So there's just a lot of mystery out there.
So when, I guess you had too an experience where your adoptive family, I don't know how to say it. They were not as gung-ho about you going to do the search, I guess. What I guess I'll let you share as much of that as you want to, but I guess what I mostly want you to talk about with everyone is, what did that do to you as someone that you're talking about, like, hi, I'm an adoptee. I'm curious. I want to know where I came from. I want to know the just logistics stuff, like health issues.
Right.
And then the people in my life aren't behind me. Like, what did that do to you?
It makes you feel like you're being deceitful in a way. And you also feel like maybe your family doesn't think that you appreciate them, and that's not the case. My adoptive family is my family. I just needed to have that other part of me, sometimes adoptees will say being adopted is like trying to read a book, but you have to start with like chapter 5.
Huh.
So you don't know anything that happened from, before.
Right.
And it's a part of your story.
Right.
And, love and support is very much appreciated. And I know it, and I can always put myself in the shoes of the adoptive family where, the adoptive family's been there and put a roof over your head and food in your stomach and changed your diapers and nursed you through your first heartbreak and, was there Christmases and every Thanksgivings and every other holiday. And, I can see where a parent could go, well, then why can't I be enough? And I think that's kind of what happened with my adoptive family, is that they felt like, oh, well, maybe they weren't enough for me.
Right.
And that was a kind of rejection that they felt, but was not my intention.
So did you feel like with that, then you all of a sudden were having to deal with your stuff? Like with, I'm curious about my birth family. I'm curious about, I want to find all this. And then you also all of a sudden had to deal with, okay, now I have to make sure my adoptive family is okay. Like, did you feel like you were juggling a lot then?
Yes, it's been a very big struggle. And, since I found my biological father, and I do have a wonderful relationship with him and his wife, who is, we call her my bonus mom, and
that's awesome.
my brothers and sisters. I have this wonderful relationship with them, and it was, and not that like I wanted to offend anybody, but I never felt completely at home or comfortable in my own skin with my adoptive family, because a lot of us were just so different. But we were, we're the same because we had, shared experiences, shared vacations, and so on and so forth. But it just, for me, like I said, it filled this part in that had been such a gaping hole in my life, and it helped me to start to heal.
I think I've heard you say before that your adoptive family is very analytical.
Yes.
And you're very artistic. So
yes.
I feel like I remember, I think you talking to me about that, and it was just like a very much like, well, why am I so artsy? Like, I'm in this family like full of analytical people, and they like to mark check boxes and make sure their I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and I want to go singing in the rain.
Right. Exactly. And that was exactly it. Like, it would totally, drive them nuts. I would do little performances, and I've always been a jokester and made up stories and things like that. And sometimes I think they thought I was crazy because they worried about whether or not I knew it was reality or fantasy, because I was just always kind of off in my own world.
Right. So what is that?
So it was very different.
How does that, and maybe you can't even answer that, like how, like we have a lot of families, we have a lot of folks watching, even after this, they might not be watching live. What does that do when you feel like there's a hole, when you're growing up with a hole, I guess, in yourself, and you're not comfortable in your own skin? And that, I mean, it is kind of scary. Like, as an adoptive father, it's not, yeah, it is a little scary for me, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, not that I want to be everything for my children, but it's something that I can't help my children with. It's something I can't fill. You know what I mean? Like, I can't provide that for them.
No, and you guys, and your kids will understand that you have every intention, and you are their parents through thick and thin. But for me, it affected the choices that I made growing up, behaviorally. I kind of would always push the envelope towards, like, almost getting in trouble, but I wouldn't get completely in trouble because I didn't want to, get taken back to the adoption agency or something. It was just something in my brain that was, and I knew I wasn't going to, but it's just something that's in your brain that you're kind of hyper vigilant about. Oh, I better not make a mistake, or else they might think I wasn't worth adopting or anything like that. And it's really just, it's the trauma speaking. And the trauma also made me seek out relationships with people. I would stay away from the more popular kids at the school because I was afraid that nobody would ever think I'd measured up. So I would go with the troublemakers who would, kind of accept me. Right. Because that's, you have your little separate areas. And then I also, I had a really difficult time with dating. I wanted a lot of attention from members of the opposite sex and made terrible decisions. I hurt a lot of people because I was just looking for that extra ounce of love that wasn't there in me.
And I think it's hard because it's something that the relationships can't fill. And for the folks that are watching, let me know, I guess, let me see some thumbs up emojis. Do you guys experience this with your own kids? Are they searching for friendships or maybe romantic relationships or something like that? It seems like they're trying to fill a void, or they're trying to fill something. I'd love to see some people. If you disagree with that, why don't you go ahead and hit the laugh emoji? I'd love to see what people's opinions are on that. But Betsy, did you feel like I guess I'm hearing you say that. So what can I do as an adoptive parent then to help you with those situations?
just being there. And, you might have to say it a million bajillion times. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you. I support you. Because the trauma lies. It's a liar inside our heads.
That's a good quote.
And I always, personally, I needed just constant reassurance that I was doing the right thing, and I was, that they were proud of me no matter what. That if I got a C on my math test, or if I even failed it, I needed them to say, hey, it was just, we'll just work on this. But it's not anything against you. You're not a horrible person because you made a mistake. Because, that trauma is still in there, yelling at you, oh, they're gonna be really upset with you, and they're gonna send you away, and nobody's gonna love you because you weren't supposed to be here. And it's just it's a loop. And that's what I have found with a lot of adoptees I've spoken with. It's just having to dispel the loop.
And Familia Rodriguez has been posting a little bit since we've been talking. They said, honest transparency, love, and support, that's all just a process and something some need to know and experience to grow and learn and appreciate even more what they do have and had all along. So it's kind of reiterating what I think you said, Betsy, just that having to... I think as an adoptive parent, I don't want to believe that because I feel like it's just repetitive, and I feel like I need to do something more. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I can't, like, we just did this 100 times already. This can't be actually helping. And because I think, too, like, I don't see a change in behavior, which I know. Let me hear from some adoptive parents or foster parents on here. Do you feel like you're going through the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again? So you're thinking, this possibly isn't helping. Because we're
it is.
So
it is.
We're
listening whether you think we are or not.
That's good to hear, because sometimes
that's like when the kids don't seem to listen when you want them to hear what you're saying, but then they seem to be able to hear everything when you're like behind a closed door trying to discuss something with your spouse. That's one of my favorite parts of parenting. I love that one.
As you swear your kids have ESP or something like that.
Yes, and they come in and they're like, well, what about my brother? No.
That's awesome. So you started this journey a while back ago where you were looking for your birth family. How would you suggest to parents that they be supportive? What do they need to do to be supportive of this? And has it made a difference for you? Like, how have you seen it? How have you seen it make a difference in your adult life?
Well, when I originally had my heart broken by having, my biological mother not want anything to do with me and her family not want anything to do with me, I needed that soft place to land.
Right.
I didn't need an I told you so. I needed someone to say, I'm so sorry it worked out like that, but you've always been my child, and I'm sorry that things didn't work out the way that you had hoped, but I'm still here, and I'm always going to be here no matter what. It's just, you've got to keep going. You have to make sure they know that they know that they know. But I didn't feel like I had that soft place to land, because I was kind of having to do this in secret. And then I just kind of happened to mention later on, oh, yes, I found my biological mother, but she does not want contact with me. And, it kind of was like, they were like, oh, okay. I almost felt like relief from them that she didn't want anything to do with me. So now then I turn around and I have the completely opposite reaction with my biological father's family, and that I can tell they kind of feel a little bit, I think that they're kind of worried about me rejecting them. And I get that. I'm not
Right.
rejecting them, though.
Right. Absolutely.
And I was thinking about it the other day. Spoilers if you haven't watched Finding Dory, but I think we reviewed that movie when it came out in theaters, because I remember sitting there just bawling because I was in between. I had found bio mom and not bio dad, and I was so cynical because in the end, you know, Dory's mom and dad come and live with her and her new adoptive family, and they all live happily ever after.
Right.
And I remember being so cynical. I was like, that's not going to happen. Nobody's ever going to.
Exactly right. That doesn't happen. Only in Disney movies.
I have my biological family. They have no reason to be in this town because he was from another state and ended up like getting a job here in my town. He had no idea I existed.
Okay.
And so, and it turned out that we had lived 10 minutes away from each other for a very long time.
Wow.
So, that is, huge, and it's nice to have him and my bonus mom here so that we can bond.
I'm telling you, I love that. I love that. Your bonus mom. I love that.
Yes. She's incredible. And if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have the relationship we have, because that's got to be tough on her too. Finding out, well, my husband apparently fathered a kid.
Right. So what?
And all of a sudden she's here. Hello.
So what? So again, we talked about. So I've heard so many people that say that I guess there's. And we've talked about it when we've talked with other people on the Caregiver Check-In too, is there, or even different situations where it's, hey, a lot of things that we're going through are sometimes can stem from the fact that we as caregivers are getting anxious, or we feel scared, or we feel jealousy, or what it maybe is from us. And that's causing fear is an amazing, can be negative. It could be positive, I guess, if you use it for that, but more often than not, it's a negative, cause for negative behavior because you're scared and you're just trying to self-preserve yourself. What, I don't know, what do you say to parents that are watching right now that you're talking about, that you're saying it's filling a hole, that it's inside of you that can't be filled by the adoptive family. You're saying I have a feeling that some people, even maybe a month from now, are going to watch this and they're like, wow, I don't want to hear that.
Right, right. And it is. It's words that probably would hurt. And like I said, I'm very empathetic. I can put myself into the shoes of an adoptive parent and totally see it from that standpoint. And it's not anything you did. And you have to remember that. And I mean, most of us are pretty logical and know in our brains that you're our parents and we love you and we will always love and appreciate everything you've done for us. And it's just not, it's something that needs to be separated, I guess. It's not an emotional attack on you. It's not an emotional attack on any of our, my adoptive family, and me, trying to say that, I never was able to even talk about my feelings growing up because I always felt like they would think I was unappreciative, or they would get upset or feel some jealousy, and I was never able to express, the hole that I had inside. And I wasn't able to tell them I'm mourning. I wasn't allowed to mourn this family that I didn't get to have. Another I guess metaphor is, if you could imagine all of your family died in a plane wreck except for you.
Right.
you have to allow the adoptee to mourn the fact that their family is gone. And you can't, say, oh, you were better off, because if my bio mom would have died in childbirth, nobody would have said, hey, you're better off because she died in childbirth. No, you have to kind of treat it more like we're in mourning.
Right. It is a grieving process.
It is.
And we would never dream of telling someone that lost a parent through other means. We would never dream of telling a child, well, you just need to get over the fact that your mom died. Like, you just need, it's been 3 years now, get over it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, and it's a lifetime. And then, as an adoptee, and you're feeling like, well, you don't want to hurt the ones who love you, so you almost are secretive in your grieving. And that can cause, a lot more mental trauma and, depression and anxiety and, especially in children when their brains are forming and they've not been allowed to feel the emotions because they're supposed to be grateful for being adopted.
Now, see, we have, our children are adopted out of foster care. You already know that. I'm telling everyone else more of that.
Very sweet. The kids are sweet.
So what we normally, every once in a while, we'll ask, or things will just come up about, we actually have a close relationship with all of their birth families, where our kids are allowed to talk with their birth families when they want to. We just have that kind of relationship, and there's nothing dangerous in the relationships that would make us think that they can't call their birth moms or anything like that. So we're fortunate with that. I know that there are other people that have watched us where they've expressed that there are dangers to the family finding. They're just safety concerns. But what, I guess, how would you have liked your adoptive family to talk about it, or make it maybe a normal thing so that you could talk about it, you could feel things about it? How, and what ages? Like what, I'm totally just going to throw this all at you, Betsy. What ages, because people, seriously, people are going to want to know this. Like, what age? We even still get asked the question when I go to events, when should I tell my child they're adopted? I can't believe we're still, and I'm going to say this very bluntly, but I still can't believe that we're having this question. If you haven't told your child that they're adopted, you need to do so tonight. But how, what do we do?
Like the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus that,
this is a life-altering thing.
This is life-altering, and it's very important. And I know of a lot of stories of people who found out that they were adopted, not through their adoptive parents, and the adoptive parents didn't get a chance, or they didn't use that chance to guide the conversation and to guide their child. And I know sometimes it's a very difficult thing and you don't want to answer the questions, but it's something that from the very beginning, you should always use discretion as to, the maturity of the child. You would need to use discretion if there's any mental deficiencies or mental illness. You need to be guided, and sometimes it's good to have a mental health worker to facilitate this sort of conversation as well.
Now, I think Christina, at the very beginning, I'm not sure she's on anymore, but she had said something about that, they try to answer questions and they're age appropriate with their kids when they can. Yeah. How honest do you think that we should be with kids? Obviously age appropriate, but do we paint their birth family in an only positive light, or do we tell them things like, the reason you were taken away is because of X, Y, and Z, or do you tell them, your birth mom just wasn't ready to be a mom, and and this, like, how honest are we with our kids?
You have to tell them the truth, because it hurts more. If your adoptee gets this story from you that, oh, you know, your mom really loved you and she just wasn't ready to have a baby, and she gave us this beautiful gift, you know, and that's the narrative you remember your whole entire life, and then you go and you find out your mom was raped, and, you know, or, I mean, that's worst case scenario.
Right.
Number one adoptee fear is that they were, you know, conceived out of rape or incest. That is just like, eek, you know.
Right.
But that's something, and it's very important to have mental health care professionals.
Glad you could join us, Patty.
Involved with family discussions when it comes to that, because, you know, everybody's different in how they're going to react. But I would say try to be as neutral as possible. Say, well, you know, you had to be removed because your mother was having some addiction issues. And that's something we also need to, you know, always be open about and talk about, because genetically, you know,
right,
children of addicts are predisposed to, you know, addiction issues themselves.
Right.
You know, and in that way it opens up the narrative. But, you know, try not to be judgmental, you know, and I know it's hard to not be judgmental if, you know, because there are so many horror stories out there.
Well, I think that is the hard part, because you're even with your example, you're talking about a birth mom or dad that was addicted to heroin or something like that, and so they're here. And in my head, you know, like, and I've been in other classes with other people getting foster parent licensing, or they're going through support groups for and, you know, immediately when you hear those types of stories, there's someone in the group that's like, so they chose the drugs over the kid. And they just have this, like,
can't do that.
Yeah, like, this is like, how do you come off as not judgmental? I mean,
you know, say it as neutrally as you possibly can. Matter of factly, this is what has happened. This is why you are with me. I will always love you. I will always be there to help you. But I always want to have a discussion, and I want you to be open with me if you're feeling like, you know, and especially in the teenage years and things like that, when they're going to parties and having people around them who might have access to these items, because they need to understand that they're predisposed.
Right.
And you absolutely, and see, that's like when they say, oh, they chose the drugs over the kids. That's not how addiction works.
Right.
That's also, like I said, you know, how, when you need to get, you know, like a
professional in there
or whatever involved with how to tell them. But, you know, and there may be some details that, you know, you should probably not completely, you know, don't tell them
the details,
you know, the bad details. No, but just say, this is what happened and why you're with me, but I love you, and I truly believe that I was meant to raise you, and I'm going to do everything to do right by you.
And I think it's something that we've said, even actually, if people go on our Facebook page, we have some tips for how to foster a good relationship with birth family, if at all possible, because Transfiguring Adoption, we completely believe that the birth family, that relationship is key. Foster care and adoption does happen sometimes, but if foster care and adoption can at all be avoided, it should be, and a child should stay with their birth family. I know
Right.
we get asked and criticized about that a lot. People automatically assume that we are just pro adoption.
Oh yeah.
Birth
I
families
go out and
are
steal
key.
babies and stuff like that.
Right.
I like that a lot.
No, birth family is key. It's if the birth family can be held together, it needs to be. An adoption needs to not happen. Foster care needs to not happen. But I forgot where I was going with that. How you like that? I think the tips that we had on there for how to foster with birth families. I think one thing we said too was just realize that I think the statistic is that we're all 3 really bad decisions away from being in a really bad place. So I think, like with addictions and stuff like that, I think we have to humble ourselves and realize, whether we want to believe it or not, we're 3 really bad decisions from us being on the other side of the table.
Absolutely.
And we got to look at that parent, that birth parent, or even if our children are looking for that birth parent and we're just sitting there thinking they're just a heroin addict, or we need to take the just a heroin addict away and realize that could be us in 3 really bad decisions. And how would we want the situation played out if we were them?
Right. And I will share, in my adoptive family, I did have a family member who had addiction problems, and it was because of being in chronic pain. And, that's when the doctors were just giving opioids left and right. And, you just go down that rabbit hole. And, part of him admitting that he was an addict, because he thought, oh, no, addicts are all living on Skid Row in a tent and sharing needles with their buddies. That's not me. I'm functional, and I live in a house or whatever. And addiction is just, it's such a it's a beast, many-faced monster.
Hey, Betsy, we're at 10 minutes till 9, so we need to. I'm just gonna let everyone know that we're gonna be wrapping up here. So if you have any, we're listening to Betsy Crockett. She's an adult adoptee. She's been talking to us just about her thoughts and feelings about adoption and how to help our children with navigating finding birth family, and the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions, everything that goes along with that, and the whole adoptive family.
And there are so many things we could talk about. We could talk for hours.
We could go. This could be a whole month of talk.
Yes.
Which I hope you're back on so we can talk more about that. I want everyone, if you guys have questions for Betsy, or if you have, this is the time where I usually ask if you have another topic that you want us to talk about for next week. We do have coming up, Allison Douglas will be talking with us, and she's going to be talking more along the lines of school and how we can help our children in school with navigating teachers and homework or whatnot. We haven't pinpointed a topic, we just know it's going to deal with school. Betsy, is there anything you want to tell people that the conversation hasn't hit, or you're like, I really wanted them to get this tonight and we didn't cover it?
I just want to, once again, reassure adoptive and foster families that you're doing the right thing, unless you're, not doing the right thing, but if you're here listening, you are someone who has this interest in making sure that these, your foster or adoptive child has a better future. And I want you all to know that you're appreciated. I know it's a thankless job, and there are so many facets of handling, so many things that go on as a result of why your children have had to come to you in the first place. And you're doing pretty awesome, so keep it up.
Well, hey, Betsy, Wendy Ford just commented and said, as a grandma of adopted kids, I need to know these things too. Thanks for your discussion. Great advice. I'm also a child with a father who was adopted, which I grew up with knowing both families. I loved it. Lots of family. Fantastic.
Yes. I'm so glad. And I didn't want to, make it sound like we were being mean or anything. we were,
Absolutely.
it's hard. Honesty sometimes hurts, but it wasn't meant to.
Yes, and I'll have to reiterate with Betsy, you guys are, as an adoptive father and a foster father, I will have to say that you guys are, more often than not, I would say 98% of the time, you're doing something amazing, you're doing something awesome, you're building into these kids, and it doesn't feel like it, because a lot of times you do feel like you're coming up against behaviors or different things, kind of like what Betsy was talking about. There's a hole there that you can't fill and you can't do anything with. All you can do is just be there for them and say, hey, I'm here for you. No matter how this turns out, I'm here for you. And that means that you're not going to be able to fix whatever it is that they're needing. That means you're just going to have to help manage behaviors. You're going to have to help manage them and regulate and just love on them. So yeah, you guys are doing an amazing job. I did put up a link up there. We have an e-newsletter that we send out every month just with, if we write new tips, discussion guides, we send those out in our e-newsletter. I would love everyone to sign up for that if you could, so we can keep in contact with you. It really does help us. And if you guys can help share out our social media pages, that helps us so much, being able to reach new people. One thing I'm going to be putting out in our e-newsletter is we just did a review of the new Spider-Man movie, which a lot of folks have gone to go see. So we have questions that you can talk about with your foster and adoptive kiddos through watching that movie and help them work through some things. And we also have some warnings that we have with that movie. Betsy was talking about Finding Dory and how that kind of triggered some trauma for her. And we have some trauma triggers we have found in Spider-Man. So would love for you guys to take a look at that. You can get all those tips on our website at transfiguringadoption.com, or just subscribe to our newsletter. That's the easiest way to find all the new stuff. So, Betsy, it has been amazing. So glad that you've been here with us.
Thank you for having me, even though we had those technical difficulties. And, just because y'all can't see me, my hair looks fabulous, my makeup's great, my eyebrows are on fleek. Just remember that.
That's awesome. You did amazing. It was the information that we needed, and like Wendy and I'm not sure, Familia Rodriguez has been saying, like, it's been awesome. So we have appreciated it. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope to see you again next week during our Caregiver Check-In. It's going to be again Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as it always is on Facebook Live. Again, sign up for our e-newsletter. I have the link on the comments below. You can go to transfiguringadoption.com to sign up. This is Darren Fink with Transfiguring Adoption, signing off, hoping that we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster adoptive family. Goodbye, everyone.